Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
Let's get ready to rumble!
This one by Mattingly. Oh, hang on to the roof.
Looking, long in the end zone. 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Little roller up along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it.
Yes, welcome back to Sports Shorts. This is episode 138. It's Wednesday. No, what day is today? What's today? Saturday morning? We had a bunch of boys sleep over last night, and I'm pretty tired. Actually, one of them's leaving right now. Getting ready to go to a Celtics game. Hi, Daniel. Have fun tonight. We are going to be talking about today, NFL. So we're going to do a little recap on Thursday Night Football, and then we're going to dive into our Sunday picks, what we're going to see for those big games that are happening, because it's a chock full of good football games going on. We have Kansas City versus the Rams. Everybody's looking forward to that. We also have a big game going in. The Philadelphia Eagles, who've been struggling, they are going in to play the Saints. And it's going to be very interesting because, my boy, Carson Wentz, I talk about him on a regular basis. But I am really excited to see that game if it's on, because I don't have DirecTV. I'm not as fortunate as you to have the NFL ticket. But if it's on one of the networks, I can't wait to watch that game, because this is one of those I could see an upset. But that's one of the games I'm going to be picking. We got a lot of NFL to talk about today. Of course, we also Damian Post, he's ready to rumble. We also are going to be having the beautiful mind, an audio clip from him. He's going to be giving us a little bit of Red Sox talk today, giving you about what he thinks the Red Sox might do this offseason. I haven't even listened to the clip yet. That's how confident I am that it's going to be good. I don't even need to listen to it, because he's going to bring some numbers to the table, I'm sure, the beautiful mind way. And he's also going to give you, Red Sox fans that listen to the show, he's going to give you some Red Sox talk. So, and then me and Brian are also going to talk about the Yankees today, because we have to, because we love the Yankees. And we are going to be talking about what maybe some moves that they might be making. Brian Cashman's going to be out there. But before I get into all that, let's just, this is live on YouTube. We go live every Monday, every Wednesday, every Saturday. Damian says I'm a brave man for not checking the clip first. My name is Shane Moore. I'm one of your hosts.
I'm the Brian Man.
And like I said, we go live every Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. You can find this show anywhere podcasts are played, iTunes, iHeartRadio, all of those places. And, of course, you can follow us on any of the social media outlets, which is Facebook at facebook.com/Shane the Bryman. I am going to be posting that we are live on there in a few minutes. And I will also, that will go over to our Twitter account as well, which you can find at Shane and Bryman. You can find me on Twitter at @EinhornersFinkel. You can find the Bryman at _Bry_man. And Damian Dyden, he changed it. Didn't he change his?
But he's got two, and they're both active.
They're both active?
Yes.
So, Damian, just post in the comments where they can find you on Twitter, because I know you changed your Twitter handle or something. I can't remember what it was, but you changed it. Post it in there, and then I'll be able to copy it and put it into the description for the podcast side of things. All right. Well, today we've got a great show. Lots to talk about, so let's go.
You are listening to Sports and Sorts with Shane and the Bryman.
Drinking my Central Perk coffee today.
Mm-hmm. I've already had my coffee. My coffee's gone.
My second. It's actually cold now. All right. So we're going to talk about a little bit that happened on Thursday Night Football. Obviously, the I'm phasing out the other one. Damian Dyden. Okay. At Damian Dyden, which is DAMIANDYDYN. I can just put it. Why didn't I just put it on the screen? I can do that. Why didn't I do that, Brian? It's Saturday. What? Saturday. I could have just posted his I read his Twitter handle instead of just posting it on the screen.
Looks like we're off to one of our normal Saturday starts. It's like the practice show for the week stuff.
But it's the show that we usually have like the most stuff to talk about.
Well, right. Yeah, and it's the one that, especially during football season, has the most importance because we're previewing tomorrow's games.
Yes, and I can't wait. So we'll talk about Thursday Night Football real quick. It's a really good game. What was the final score?
27-24 Seahawks.
Yeah, so it was really, really close. The Packers tried to rely on their defense to help them get the ball back one last time. That defense let them down. Aaron Rodgers once again sitting on the sidelines with around 2 to 3 minutes left, just waiting to get the ball back and couldn't get it. It stinks, but I would have to say, do you think that McCarthy is on the hot seat?
Without a doubt. Yep.
Do you think that there is more likelihood that he is going to be gone after this year?
I would say yes.
Yeah.
If I had to put a percentage on it, I would say 60-40, yeah, he's out. By the way, you're going to hear that 60-40 percentage come up later in the show, not related to football, but you will hear that again later.
About the chances of divorce after the whole dog issue?
No.
I didn't know if it went from 80-20 down to 60-40. It's getting...
The dogs are doing well right now,
great.
So things are okay with the dogs. So but you are going to hear that 60-40 again, and it's not a 60-40 that I'm happy about either. So
I think I know where that's going.
You probably know where I'm going.
I think I have an idea.
Yeah, we'll get into that though.
All right, so
but I would say, well, look, what are the Packers now? Are they 4 and 5?
4-5-1.
4-5-1. I'm sorry, but that's just a real disappointment. I mean, they've lost, I think, 3 of their last 4, and the only win that they got in there was against the Dolphins, against a bad, banged-up Dolphins team in Green Bay. I mean, that was a game you were going to win with your eyes closed. But yeah, I mean, there's no excuse here anymore because Rodgers, for the most part, I mean, yeah, he suffered that injury earlier in the year, but he's been primarily healthy, and you really don't have much of an excuse here if you're Mike McCarthy. I mean, yeah, your defense is not great, but you have the best quarterback on the planet, and he is relatively healthy. Does he need some more weapons? Yeah, especially at wide receiver. But you know what? Devontae Adams is an absolute stud, and Aaron Jones is looking like he's turning into a very reliable ball carrier too. But at some point, there's just no more excuses for Mike McCarthy. And Mike McCarthy, look, he's a good coach. He's won a Super Bowl. And he's been there a long time. He's one of the longer tenured coaches in the leagues at this point. But, look, the NFL is just one of those leagues that not only does it have a lot of turnover, but sometimes it requires a lot of turnover. Mm-hmm. And I think Mike McCarthy might just be one of those guys like a Marvin Lewis and like who else do we know? Who am I thinking of? Who am I missing like off the top of my head? That's absolutely Hugh Jackson. Well, no, not Hugh Jackson.
He got fired already.
Oh, and even and I hate to say it, well, I kind of hope that this guy becomes the next Dolphins coach, but John Harbaugh.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you just run your course with a coach. And in football, that turnover is a little more frequent than it is in other sports. And a lot of that has to do with the salary cap and the fact that there's so much parity in the league, or that there's supposed to be so much parity in the league. You're all operating with the same salary cap. And for the most part, all these teams are very, very profitable, and they can all afford to go right up to that salary cap. So it's harder. You don't have as many excuses in the NFL as you do in baseball, or maybe even in some other sports. But the NFL especially, where you can get out of contracts a lot easier than you can in other sports, your excuses and your time runs very, very short. The sands through the hourglass go very quickly. And
those are the days of our lives.
I set myself up for that one. But it's true. And I think McCarthy is not only on the hot seat, but I expect him to be gone. Unless there's a big turnaround for this Packer team, I expect him to be gone.
Yeah, do you think he's actually a good coach? Or has he been kind of sheltered by Aaron Rodgers?
I mean, it doesn't hurt when you have Aaron Rodgers, but I guess you could theoretically, I guess you can't really ask the same thing about Brady Belichick, because they've not only have they just won one, but they've won 5, and they've had a sustained run of excellence. Whereas with the Packers, it's been a lot of inconsistency. Yes, I mean, there's a good chance that Aaron Rodgers has propped up Mike McCarthy.
Yeah,
pretty well. It's hard to take away when you've won a championship, it's hard to take it away from a guy. I mean, it really is. I mean, yeah, you could call it kind of like fluky or whatever. But it's tough. It's tough to take it away from him, I mean, he's got it. He did win it. But I think he is a good coach. But again, I think it's just time for him it's probably time for him to move on. It's probably time for the Packers to move on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, they've never really gelled all that much, and it seems like they kind of squabble back and forth quite a bit. It's also difficult because he doesn't really... I don't know. There's something about McCarthy and Rodgers that's just not working. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just like, being stubborn or whatever, but they just don't seem to be on the same page. And it seems like it's more often than not. And this is surprising because, I mean, obviously Aaron Rodgers has had a good career and, he has a Super Bowl, but, it just, with that kind of talent, you would, and I also would couple that with the GM side of things. Like, they need to figure out a way to protect Aaron Rodgers, let him do what he does, maybe get him one more weapon. Although Jimmy Graham should have been a beast for them this year, and that
has not panned out.
He doesn't seem anywhere near as fast as he used to be. And, I mean, his hands are pretty good, but he's not jumping like through the roof like he used to. I mean, that's a guy that you would have expected to have, like I did. I expect him to have something ridiculous like 12 to 14 touchdowns this year. But he is just not. He's not performing, and then he got hurt. I don't know what he did. He must have done something to his thumb or something like that last game.
He's one of those guys that drives fantasy owners nuts too, because it's hard to keep him out of them. I don't have him in my leagues, but
he's built and he was just as fast. He had just as good as hands. He was a big. He was never a great blocker, but like Gronk he's turned himself into a great blocker as well as he's just an overall great tight end. Yeah. Jimmy Graham was always that guy that you could just throw the ball up to and he would catch it in the end zone, and that's Drew Brees did that to him all the time.
Yeah.
But it just hasn't really worked for him, and he's had two good, similar style quarterbacks in Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, but they just never really seem to click and get on the same page.
Talk about a tight end with no excuses, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Drew Brees, Russell Wilson, and Aaron Rodgers.
Seriously,
you've had 3 of the best.
Yeah.
And all championship quarterbacks too. You've had 3 championship quarterbacks at your disposal.
He just can't.
And I would actually say that his career has been, I don't know if you want to call it a disappointment, but maybe a slight underachiever.
Yeah, because he's got a lot of touchdowns, but yeah, I mean, he has to be an underachiever. I mean,
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, he's a big time underachiever.
I don't know what his excuse here is at Green Bay, and maybe it's, who knows, maybe like you said, maybe he's a little slower, And Rodgers is a quirky guy too, so I think it takes Aaron Rodgers a while to, I don't want to say like warm up to a guy, but that's not what I mean. But, it takes him a while, I think, maybe to adjust to people. I mean, I could see maybe trust, but I mean, maybe it's going to take him until next year with Graham, if Graham's still there, if they don't cut him.
And speaking of that, I mean, there was a coach that we kind of talked about earlier in the season that seemed like that he might be on the hot seat, which is Pete Carroll, who was coaching in this game. He has been, I don't know how he's doing it, but he is getting that team to really, and he does it every single year.
Yeah, he does. Well, he's got Russell Wilson too.
Gets them on a good winning streak, but he constantly kind of battles with Russell Wilson. Like him and Russell Wilson, they kind of go at it from time to time. Like Pete Carroll will throw Russell Wilson under the bus. Yeah. And Wilson takes it with stride. He doesn't really care that much. He's very, calm in the media, doesn't really trash talk, doesn't do anything like that. Very talented.
Pete Carroll's very animated, and
yes, he is. He's very animated.
And amazing that he's the oldest coach in the league. And I remember when he was the youngest coach in the league, and now he's the oldest. Yeah. It's crazy. What a trend in the NFL.
He's a total cheerleader. I mean, he is just.
Oh, he is.
Optimism.
He's a strange guy. I hate it. I never liked him at USC. But he was a winner though. Mm-hmm. He won multiple national championships at USC. He had done everything he could on the college level. But the one thing I give him credit for, unlike Nick Saban, is that Pete Carroll went to the NFL, stuck it out, had some bad years, had that rough run with the Jets, which was bad. But then he caught on in Seattle. He got his quarterback, and he should be a 2-time Super Bowl champion. We all know that. But But you know what?
Sometimes
the bottom
make
line,
bad decisions against the Patriots.
The bottom line is that's a good way to put it. Sometimes you make bad decisions against the Patriots. The bottom line, though, is that the guy has had an unbelievable. When you consider the overall landscape of his coaching career in college and football, he's a surefire Hall of Fame coach. I mean, he has had a spectacular career, and I've never been like a huge fan of him. Again, I never really loved him in the USC days, but. Because he had there was the whole scandal with USC too, and so what else is new? College is the most scandalous organization, and NCAA is the most scandalous organization in the world. So, but outside of the Trump White House, but honestly,
coming from a Republican,
that's when you know it's bad. It's made with bits of real Panther, so you know it's good. But yeah, I mean, you got to give it to Pete Carroll, man. What a run though that Pete Carroll has had in the NFL. It's unbelievable. I have to tip my cap to him. He's certainly not a hot seat guy. I get the feeling I get the feeling Seattle would let him stay there as long as he wants. But you know what? That team needs Seahawks though. Just to try and get back on track here, the Seahawks though they really need another weapon at wide receiver. I mean, I like Doug Baldwin, but Doug Baldwin goes in and out of being healthy a lot. Yeah. Lockett is
and Baldwin's knee is gonna just eventually just die. I mean, it's not good. It's not a good situation. He even said this year he's never going to play 100% ever again.
Yeah, if you're the Seahawks, you really have to. You've got an interesting carousel at running back there. You've got Carson. You've got Rashad Penny. But I think they need a tight end and a receiver. Like if I were drafting for them this year, that's what. Because look, you've got a handful of years left with Russell Wilson probably being a top 10 quarterback. I think you need to take advantage of those years. Obviously, you need to bolster your defense again. But the Seahawks are a team to me that's not that far away. You get them another really good receiver and a good tight end, and maybe do a little work on that in that secondary and on the defensive line. I think that team's a championship contender again. Right. And yes, Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson have this team again somehow positioned to they're in the playoff hunt. And they're kind of like one of those teams I wouldn't want to play either, just because of Russell Wilson knowing what he can do, No,
he's good. I mean, he can come back. He's a great quarterback. He really is. And it was a fun game. It was unfortunate.
It was a fun game.
For me, I had said I was kind of like it was a coin flip game. It really was. You were taking the Seahawks.
You waited for me to take my pick, and then you went with the Packers.
I tried to go.
That's what you get for pulling that crap.
Yeah.
See, it backfired on you, and I still won.
It did. I was feeling all good too in the first half. I was like, oh yeah, they're winning. They're like 14-7.
Oh, I know. I was like, well, Shane got that one. He picked one up on me.
And I was like, yeah, this is going great. And then slowly the Seahawks start coming back, and the defense for the Green Bay Packers just breaking down, and I'm like, no.
Can't count Big Russ out, man.
Yeah, you are way over 500 now. I don't even know if there's a chance I can catch up to you unless you just start bombing it every week.
Well, I've got a couple of chances to potentially bomb with this week's picks, so we'll see.
My picks, I'm nervous about both of them. All three picks, I'm terrified about because I just don't like this week's. Because there's some really good games. I mean, there's really good games. I mean, you know what? We can just get right into it. We can get into NFL Week 11. Let's play the clip here. First game up, we have Kansas City. I'm going to talk Kansas City the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Los Angeles Rams.
Game of the year again.
Yeah, I mean, this is another one that is the.
Well, it is definitely the game of the week.
Kansas City and the Rams have been playing in a lot of these, between the Saints and the Patriots.
When you're a good team,
there's a lot of good teams that are playing, and it's fun when these teams match up in the regular season because then it really adds to the fire when they get meet up in the playoffs. It's like, did they figure it out finally? Can they do it? Were they hiding something during the regular season to kind of rope-a-dope a little bit? But to me, this game right here, at the beginning of the season, if you asked me this, I would have said, I probably, no matter what time of year, really, I think it's a coin flip game. Because either one of these teams can just start putting up serious points on the board. And both of their defense are a little bit, at the beginning of the year, the Chiefs' defense was terrible. Absolutely atrocious. They have gotten better. They've gotten some key players back on defense. That's helped the situation there. But the Rams defense, even though they're relatively healthy, has seemed to just really be soft. They are not. You figure with Aaron Donald, there would be a lot more pressure on the quarterback, and their defense. Marcus Peters in the secondary, he is a really good corner. He has not stepped up this year. He's gotten
torched a lot lately. Actually,
yes, he's been pretty bad. I don't know if it's that he had some kind of lower leg issue, and I don't know if it's just he's been playing with an injury. And he's just not 100% healthy. I don't know if maybe he's 75% healthy or something like that, but he has looked like he's not the same person. Because the Chiefs are particularly playing better on defense and the Rams are playing a little worse. And the Rams, they just have not been clicking on all cylinders, even on offense. Like last year, they were really clicking on all cylinders. And this year, they just don't seem to be quite the same team. They have a lot of close games. All their games are decided within like a touchdown. When you're going against these big name teams like the Patriots or even the Packers or someone like the Seahawks or in this case the Chiefs, you have to either create some separation and let your defense step up, and they just have not been able to do that. Their defense has not stepped up for them for the most part. So I expect Kareem Hunt this game. So if you have him, obviously you're playing him anyway. But like if you're in a daily fantasy league where he's going to cost you a good chunk of change, he's going to probably put up huge numbers this game. He's going to be running the ball because the Rams' defense, especially their run defense, is really soft. And then Tyreek Hill, nobody can cover him, so obviously he's going to be burning everybody in that secondary. So I'm going to take the Chiefs over the Rams, which is tough for me to say because I have the Rams winning it all this year.
So do I.
But I think because they have almost zero home field advantage, because the fans in LA just aren't really there for these teams yet. They just haven't really embraced either team.
Yeah. Part of the problem with the LA Coliseum too is it's just such an enormous stadium that it allows other teams' fans to populate it.
Well, that and the fact that it's tough to make the noise that you need to when you're at home.
It is right. It's an open arena.
And then you have the other one, for the Chargers, which is like.
No, that's a joke.
It's like a baseball.
That's
field.
a joke. I mean, at some point, that team better decide whether or not they just need to go back to San Diego because that's just I mean, it's not going to. I know that's going to be bad. That's going to be a bad situation.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. So
what's going to make that situation worse too, by the way, is the fact that Phillip Rivers is an old man now. I mean, he's not, but he's on the
mid-30s.
He's at the end of his career. He's not at the beginning. So if you're the Chargers, you better really concentrate on getting yourself a franchise quarterback. You want that team to be relevant and make money? You better get yourself a franchise quarterback because when Rivers goes or when his skills start to erode, you're not going to be able to put people in a new stadium. Mm-hmm. It's going to be really bad.
Yeah, it's going to be.
It's going to be bad. It's going to be a bad situation.
I really like
the Rams, on the other hand, are fine, but...
Yeah, I mean, for now. I mean, all things can change very fast in the NFL.
They can, but I mean, at least the Rams have a great core, though.
And the Chargers right now are playing pretty well. So, I mean...
they're playing well.
Right now, they have two good LA teams, but there's no real home field advantage, which stinks for both of those teams.
It's not a football town.
Yeah, it's tough. That's really tough.
It's a basketball town.
Yeah, because they have none, they've been playing games within a touchdown. I have the Chiefs winning 38-31. I think it's going to be another high-scoring game.
It's a good score.
I think that the Chiefs just put up a ton of points, and I think Kareem Hunt's going to put up huge numbers. Like I could see him getting 200 total yards line from scrimmage, and I could see him scoring probably 2 touchdowns. I could see Kareem Hunt catching a touchdown. I could even see Patrick Mahomes. I could see him throwing probably 3. This could be a really big game for all of those guys. And even, they just have so many weapons. It's just ridiculous. And then, Sammy Watkins, too, he might look for some revenge because the Rams didn't keep him. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, there's some storylines there.
And, Cooper Kupp's down, and, Josh Reynolds is going to have to step up in his place, and hopefully, and he did the last time. And his first time that he came in, filled in for Cooper Kupp, scored 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's a big performance. That's bigger than Cooper Kupp would have done. But that happens when you step in. They're not going to give you. They're going to attack the other players because they don't believe that you can succeed on this level until you prove them wrong. And he did. We'll see how it goes and see how they treat it at home this week. But all right, so that's my pick. That's my first one. What do you got?
And I didn't want to. One other thing, I didn't want to jump too far into this because it's a little bit of old news now. But shame on the NFL for screwing that up with having to move it from Mexico City to LA. That's just a disaster. I mean, that's a really this game was literally in the works for 3 years. Mm-hmm. Like, they have prepared for this for 3 years, and you can't get the field right the week of the game? I mean, how does that even happen? And let's be honest, playing a game in LA right now with all those fires in California there's probably not great air quality right now.
No.
In Los Angeles. It's really almost like, I mean, it was funny because the players were kind of like complaining about being in Mexico City and having the field be all beat up and having that be an unsafe environment. Well, the truth is, I would say LA is probably more of an unsafe environment right now. With all that smoke in the air, I mean, that's not healthy either. So it's kind of ironic, but I think that that is real bad on the NFL there. And they screwed a lot of things up for ESPN too. I mean, ESPN was, getting all set up and stuff like that, and they're just, again, it's another, it's just, you can put it on the NFL's tab. There's another thing for you to complain about when it comes to them. But all right, so for my first game though, Steelers at Jags. Tale of two different teams. Two teams trending in completely opposite directions right now. I don't see anything to make this trend change this week. I know the Jags looked a little bit better against the Colts last week in Indy. Leonard Fournette looked like Leonard Fournette, which was, I'm sure, a breath of fresh air for the Jags. But, who knows? He could slip on a banana peel tomorrow and be out for the game. But let's be honest. This game, the Jags they're 3-6. They are about as out of it as can be. I can't tell you how disappointed I am in that team. I thought they would be back in an AFC Championship game because I just thought their defense was just going to be really, really hard to score on. And I thought Blake Bortles would give you at least enough to make that team a somewhat viable threat on offense. But I think once Fournette went down, they really had to change their game plan because they really don't have other guys in their running back stable that can do the things that he does. And look, if you had to rely on Blake Bortles to get you through a handful of games without Leonard Fournette, you're in trouble. I mean, that's why the Jags right there. That's why the Jags need to make a quarterback change, because you can't have your plans just go completely awry when your running back goes down. If your quarterback goes down, that's different. I mean, everything goes through the quarterback. Mm-hmm. But if your running back goes down, you got to be able to make adjustments there, and they couldn't do it. And I listen, this game I think is going to be exactly what you expect it to be. The Jags can't really seem to stop anybody on defense right now. I mean, the Colts kind of moved the ball freely on them last week. And if the Colts are doing that, just imagine what a healthy and now drama-less Steelers team is going to do, because the drama's gone. Le'Veon Bell is not playing this year. He will never play another down as a Pittsburgh Steeler. His career in Pittsburgh is over. They are so over him that they basically looted his locker and started, grabbing his sneakers and stuff like that, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. Yeah. It just goes to show you how much he was disliked. I mean, he really, really was disliked. And I'll tell you what, for any team that's going to sign him in the offseason, we talked about that last week, but that's going to be an interesting proposition, bringing him on board and what all that comes with signing a Le'Veon Bell. But listen, as far as this game goes, the Jags have I give the Jaguars maybe a puncher's chance in this one, but I've got 33-21 Steelers.
Having them scoring 21 points, wow.
I do have them scoring 21. I mean, you know why? Because Fournette is back and healthy, and I think he'll help their offense.
All right.
And the Steelers' defense isn't great. It's okay.
Yeah, no,
it's serviceable. They're playing better, but they're still going to give up points, and it's still in Jacksonville. So, but 33-21, there's just no way. I just don't see the Jags defense being able to stop anyone. And also, hold on, wait. Do you hear that noise? Hold on, do you hear that noise?
What noise?
Yeah, exactly. What noise? It's the silence coming from Jalen Ramsey, because that dumbass hasn't said a thing in weeks. Loudmouth. And I used to like Jalen Ramsey. Keep in mind, he's a Florida State guy. So, he used to be one of my boys. Now he's just an idiot.
All right, so you have Pittsburgh over the Jags, and I think most people would take that game right there. Obviously the Steelers can throw up a stinker from time to time. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
They are very prone to that happening. They not stepping up to the plate when they absolutely they should destroy a team. But the next game I have is Philadelphia, the Eagles versus the New Orleans Saints. And look, the Eagles' defense is depleted. Their offense doesn't have as much going for them since Jay Ajayi went down. Their running back situation is might be one of the worst in the league, which is why I was shocked they didn't go after a running back. Any decent running back, instead of getting, I think Golden Tate is a great option for them. I think that was a great sign because he's a talented guy. But they really needed a running back. They just needed somebody, and I'm surprised they didn't try and poach somebody like Shady McCoy from my Bills.
They could have just gone back to the Dolphins and asked for Kenyon Drake this time. Who knows? Maybe they would have done
even if they got Frank Gore. They just need a guy that they can hand the ball off to and get, like 3 to 3.5 to 4.5 yards per carry. They just need a guy that they can just hand the ball off to, not have to worry about fumbles, and can actually be a serviceable running back. And Frank Gore could have done that. I mean, he's old as dirt, but that would have been a guy they could have poached easily.
He is dirt.
But he's still solid. Like that's the thing.
I love Frank Gore.
Never gets hurt. So that would have been a good guy to fill in for the short term. But the Saints, they should be able to pretty much march all over the field here. I mean, this is a depleted defense for the Philadelphia Eagles. I am going to take Drew Brees. They're going to put up a ton of points. I'm going to take him over Carson Wentz this week because Drew Brees should probably throw for something like 350 yards, 3 touchdowns. On this secondary, he should absolutely go bananas. I had them score 34-24. I don't even know. I think that the Eagles have scored over 25 points like once this year. It's been absolutely amazing to see this hangover that they've had. They started to seem like they were starting to come out of it, but they just fell right back.
They fell right back.
And it's partially due their defense is just gone. Completely done a 180. They are terrible now again, and they just have nobody in the second. And they're throwing a bunch of practice players out there now because their secondary is just so beat up, and nobody's getting to the quarterback. It's been a really rough go this year for that defense, and even the offensive line for the Eagles hasn't been as good. And now that they don't have Ajayi, which you can have a running back that can open up some, because if you have a decent running back, they're not going to be able to stuff the box and try to, blitz you as much and all that kind of stuff. So he just doesn't have anybody, and it's unfortunate. So
the Eagles are a bit one-dimensional, they really kind of are.
All right. So
and I like Carson Wentz, but Carson Wentz is not the kind of guy, I'm sure you would agree with this. You don't want him throwing the ball 40 times a game.
No, I think almost. I don't think there's a quarterback in the league that you really want.
Yeah, probably not. Well, see, you know what though?
But there's guys that you could get away with it, because they're that good. But
I wouldn't have a problem with Drew Brees throwing the ball 40 times. Now you don't because he's an older guy and you don't want that much on his arm. But I feel like guys like Rivers and Brees and even Rodgers to an extent could throw that ball that many times and you still have a really good chance to win.
Yeah.
But in the case of Carson Wentz, absolutely not, because that's not how the Eagles are built. They're not built with those kind of downfield weapons. No. I mean, even though they have Tate and they have Alshon Jeffrey
and Aguilar,
and
they have good options. And
they do, but it's just that you need some balance. And
they don't have a running back, and that's really tough.
And when you look at those other two teams that I mentioned more specifically, especially with the Chargers and with the Saints, you have unbelievable balance. I mean, Breeze has got the best running back situation in the NFL with Kamara and Ingram, and then Phillip Rivers has Melvin Gordon. Yeah. I mean, who's an absolute stud.
Yes.
So but the Eagles. I mean, there are weapons there. I mean, Zach Ertz is an animal. Best tight end in the game. I mean, it's probably not even close. But maybe Gronk when he's healthy. But
Kelce.
That's Kelce is good. But man, Ertz is just a beast.
He's great hands.
But well,
yeah.
But
right, so, so I have Philly losing to the Saints. It's a 9-point spread right now. I think that Philly's getting 9 points going into New Orleans.
Yeah.
And just to give you all the point spreads, KC is getting 3.5 points against the Rams, which I found crazy. But I would have thought it would probably be 2.5 because I think if it was the other way around, if they were going into Kansas City, I would say that Kansas City would probably be favored by 8 points. Easy. Because
maybe
they
6.
have a good home field advantage.
Yeah, they do.
And on top
Arrowhead's
of that,
a place.
And on top of that, I just think, because you always have that. But on top of that, I just think that they would have scored a crap load of points. And the Rams going there, I'm shocked by this spread a little bit.
I'll tell you what.
But and Pittsburgh, I can't remember what the spread is, but it's Pittsburgh's, I think, giving up 5.5 points. So they're favored. The Jags are getting 5.5, which I find kind of that seems like an easy bet to me. Like I would absolutely take the Pittsburgh Steelers in that game.
Yeah, I've got them by what did I have by 12?
By 12, yeah.
You know what's interesting? My second game is one that I am surprisingly looking forward to, and I actually plan on watching tomorrow, especially with mercifully the Dolphins being off. Mm-hmm. It's Titans at Colts. And it's a weird game. It's a game that can create a pretty serious logjam in the AFC South, or it can begin to start to see some separation. The Titans are like the weirdest, most up and down team I have seen this year. They're a team that could go week 1 into Miami and lose the longest game in NFL history.
Yeah.
Or they can be a team that absolutely obliterates the Patriots like they did last week. And I mean, that game, I watched a lot of that game. That was a one-way ass kicking. I mean, the Patriots were out of that game from the beginning. I mean, they hung around, but the Titans absolutely just kept punching them in the mouth. It was like Drago on Creed. I mean, it was just a beating.
Something about and I'm surprised no other coach has really picked up on it yet and how to do it. But all of these coaches that were under Bill Belichick, they all know how to beat him.
They know how to beat him.
Granted, I think
that's not a coincidence.
But I think Bill Belichick has a winning record against his old coaches. But,
I'm sure he does.
But it's not like he is like against the rest of the league where he's winning 70% of the time.
No, and I think as we talked about last week too, Deion Lewis was really fired up for that game. Yeah. So this game is fascinating though to me. Titans at Colts. The Colts are playing much better. Andrew Luck looks like he's got his mojo back. This is a fun game. To me, this was like a coin toss game. And again, you've got the Colts at 4-5, and you've got the Titans at 5-4. The Colts are trending in a good direction, and I guess you would say the Titans are too. But the thing that worries me about the Titans, again, and I'll say it again, is their inconsistency. They have been a massively inconsistent team. Win, lose, win, lose, win, lose. That's the kind of team they are. And I actually don't think I'm going to see this week going any differently. If this game were in Tennessee, I'd probably favor the Titans. But on the road, at the Colts, in a place where I think they're going to start to get a little bit excited. Remember, the AFC is very top-heavy. And there are opportunities to sneak into the playoffs in the AFC. And the Colts are one of those teams that could get into the playoffs with a good little run here. And I think the Colts are going to start to make this a logjam. I still think this is the Texans' division to win. They're 6-3, and they're in good shape. They're clearly playing better. Their defense is kind of getting it together. Deshaun Watson's getting it together. DeAndre Hopkins is unstoppable. Mm-hmm. But I think there is a possibility that whichever team finishes second in this division can sneak into the playoffs as a 6 seed or a 5 seed. And I like the Colts to pull off a win this week in what's going to be, I think, a really fun game. I don't think either of these teams' defenses is particularly great. I know the Titans had sort of built that reputation going into the season that they would have a stout defense, but it hasn't really quite played out that way. Both teams are going to give up points, but on the fast track here in the Dome, I like the Colts. I think it's just going to be a really fun game to watch, and like I said, I'm going to be tuning into this game. I'm actually very excited about tomorrow because I'm going to watch that game at the 1 o'clock hour. I'll tune in. And is the Chiefs Rams a 4 o'clock game, or is that?
I don't remember.
I think it might be like a 4 o'clock game. I'll watch that one and then boom, right into Survivor Series tomorrow night. So tomorrow's just going to be a fun, completely unproductive day for me. But final score, I got the Colts 24-21.
Ooh, that's a close one. At home for the Colts. Yeah, I think that I wanted to see who you were picking. I definitely would take Pittsburgh over the Jags. And the Tennessee Titans, like you said, they have a little bit of a streak going, but I don't see that streak continuing. I don't see them as a great team. I see them as like
they're too inconsistent.
8-8, 9-7, at best 10-6 team, but I think more 9-7, 8-8 kind of.
I think 9-7.
I just don't trust Mariota, and I really trust Andrew Luck. So I would be in agreement with you. I'd probably even put up more points than that on the board. I'd probably do something like 27-21 if I was going to pick. As of right now, that is a 1:00 game, and the Titans are getting 2 points. So you have, even with this against the spread, you have the Colts winning.
Right, the Colts.
All right, so let's see. What's the Kansas City game? What time was it?
I think it's 4 because the 8 o'clock game is when we're going to talk.
That's a Monday night game.
Oh, it's Monday night. Oh, we talked about the Monday night game?
I did a Monday night game.
Whoops.
Oh, well. What you going to
do?
Should I?
Well, see,
I'm
now.
so excited to talk about that, but.
Well. Wow, that's a fail. Do you want me to just give my score on that one?
No, we'll go back to it that day.
We'll wait till Monday.
Yeah,
okay.
I'll just pick another game.
Yes,
real quick.
Yes, go ahead.
I'll pick another game. Let's see. I picked the worst game of the week. How about that?
Okay, sure. That'll be fun.
Oakland versus Arizona.
That's awful.
Arizona is a terrible team. The Oakland Raiders are a terrible team.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that the Oakland Raiders completely, it doesn't happen often that it happens this early in the season, but they throw up an absolute stinker. I think Carr is just going to throw up a bad game. I think you're going to have David Johnson have a good game. I think you're going to have Fitzgerald actually maybe even catch a touchdown this week. Rosen actually putting up a victory. I want them to get their third win. I also need the Oakland Raiders to step up because they are just,
I picked up the Cardinals in like 2 fantasy leagues for defense.
Yeah, I
think so.
They're bad, but the
Raiders are just
the Raiders are getting 5.5 points. 5.5 points. I don't know if they'll beat the spread. I'll have that game 27-24. The Cardinals.
Arizona. Okay.
Yeah, because I just think that
Johnson, how about a defensive touchdown in there? Pick 6 maybe, or a fumble recovery for a touchdown.
For you,
Thank you.
Yeah, for you, yeah.
It'd be good. Thanks.
So that's Monday. Sorry, I did Monday Night Football because I'm a moron. All right, that's all right.
That's all right.
Oakland at Arizona, and I have 27-24.
Again, it's the Saturday show. We're working stuff out.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that important. Yeah, it is. It's super important. Saturday mornings, baby. We even have Damon Diden on in a little bit. We're going to talk about. Actually, you know what? We've talked all the football. We've gotten it all in. Let's get into some baseball. Let's just get into it right now.
Well, are we doing the Sunday night football game or no? Which is what, Vikings and
yeah.
News team. Assemble.
Please assemble, because this show is off the rails.
Yeah,
this is what happens when I have, my son has a bunch of kids sleep over. And
it cuts into your prep time?
I don't have time I had no time to prep. So that's what happens. That's what happens sometimes. This is a very unpreppable show. Okay, Minnesota versus Chicago. Minnesota's getting 3 points.
This game is in
Chicago.
Yeah.
So, and Minnesota's getting 3 points. For me, this is super easy. The Vikings' offense is loaded, absolutely loaded, and to be honest, they have a better defense too. I know the Bears have Khalil Mack, but the Vikings' defense is better than the Bears' defense. The Vikings have a better offense than the Bears' offense. So I just see this really coming down to who has the better quarterback, and of course, that quarterback is Kirk Cousins. I'll put it else. My daughter.
So super cute.
Yeah, she got a big, huge bow in her hair.
Hey, look at that.
Yeah. Can somebody shut that door? You're letting all the heat out. What, do you live in a barn?
No. Do we live in a barn?
I got to throw those old school lines in there. What, do we live in a barn? So I just, Kirk Cousins is obviously hands down better than Trubisky. And so I am not going to give... I'm going to make this a pretty easy win for the Vikings on Sunday Night Football, although it could be a good game. I have it 28-21.
I've got a barn burner of a game here. Lots of points, lots of offense, very little defense.
Wow.
And I'll just give a quick score, not to go too deep into it. I'm going to go 40-35 Bears.
What is it?
40-35 Bears.
You have the Bears winning 40-35. Holy
They've been putting up a lot of points lately, man. Trubisky is moving them up and down the field. He's using his legs a lot. I like the way the Bears offense is.
The Vikings might be the number one defensive team in the league.
I know. I just got a weird feeling this is going to be a high-scoring affair. It's just, look, sometimes great defenses don't show up. We've seen that before.
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously, the Bills put up 40 points on them, so.
There you go. I mean, you just never know. 40-35 Bears. So this gives you a chance to jump to maybe pick one up on me.
Yeah, and I have 28-21. Wow. Yeah, that's a barn burner, all right. If they score 40 points on them, the Vikings then you can really throw Kirk Cousins under the bus. Yep. You can say, I don't know what the heck was going on with that team, the Vikings team, before that last year. I mean, obviously, coordinators and stuff like that have left and all that kind of stuff, but this team they should be a lot better. They did get an upgrade at quarterback, and it's not going well for them if they lose this game. I don't think the Bears are. I don't really think they're a playoff team. I mean, they're playing well, but I don't think they're a playoff team. And if they win, this could potentially put them in a serious conversation for the playoffs. And I just don't see them being that team yet. All right. Now let's get in baseball.
Play ball.
And we can dive into Damian Didens real quick. He's going to give you some beautiful mindness. We're going to play his clip in just a few seconds, but before we do that, we're going to play our commercial real quick because you know what? To be quite honest, I need a few seconds to be able to prep this. So this will give me 30 seconds. We'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
Sports and Sorts with Shane and the Bryman. 75% sports and 25% sorts.
Got to play your jam too. Oh man! All right. So I have his clip. We're going to be bringing on Damian Diden. Kind of. Not really. Sort of. A little bit. The Beautiful Mind will be giving you all of his Red Sox talk because we don't know a ton about the Red Sox. We know enough. We know enough.
I'm curious to see if his offseason outlook syncs up with that fan-sided thing that he posted earlier today in terms of guys that they would go after, specifically guys that they would try to retain. So yeah, let's hear it. I'm very curious to hear what he has to say.
Okay. All right. So let's see what we got. I will fade out this music, and then we will bring on Damian Diden. And here is his clip. I'm anxious to hear about what he has to say. Should we cut it off right in the middle and start yelling at him because he can't defend himself?
No, that's not the right thing to do.
Beautiful Mind here to talk about the Red Sox and what to expect from them this winter. And unfortunately for Red Sox fans, the answer is not a lot. They are, after all, coming off a season in which they were the best team in baseball and did win a World Series championship. So they don't have a lot of holes to fill, though they do have some questions to answer. Namely, what are they going to do about Craig Kimbrell and Joe Kelly leaving? The bullpen is probably the place where they're going to be most active. This is a team that had some bullpen troubles throughout the year. They're not going to do themselves any favors by not bringing back Kimbrell, but he's probably going to be asking for more money than they are willing to spend. This is a team that went over the tertiary threshold for the luxury tax. That's right, I said tertiary. There are 3 thresholds. People don't usually talk about the second one. There is the main threshold at $197 million. Then at $20 million beyond that, which was $217 million, there's an additional surcharge. It's not that big a deal because it's just more money. But the third threshold is at $40 million above the original tax threshold, so $237 million, which they did exceed last year, jumps that tax up to 62.5%. And the more important part of that is that it also bumps your draft pick, your first draft pick in the next year's draft, down 10 spots. So the Red Sox will not be picking at 30 in the draft in June. They'll be picking at 40. And that doesn't seem like a huge deal, but it does lower the amount of money you get to spend. Your bonus pool shrinks because your top pick is worth less. So that is something they probably don't want to repeat. I imagine that means that they will not be in on any of the big ticket free agent names. You're not going to hear them tied to Bryce Harper. You won't hear them tied to Manny Machado. And I don't think they're going to want to pay Craig Kimbrell the kind of money he's supposedly looking for. That said, there are some interesting names on the free agent market. You've got Zach Britton, who is coming off of an injury recovery year where he did not thrive. He had a strikeout per 9 of around 7.52. Walks per 9 was up over 4.5. He may be willing to sign a one-year deal on a make-good contract. Hopefully hit the free agent market again next year, next winter, and pick up a bigger contract. So you might be able to get him on a bargain. It's a bit of a risk, but it's something they could certainly try. They could bring back Joe Kelly. Joe Kelly had his struggles throughout the year, but he did come up big in the playoffs. They may be willing to gamble on him again, give him a similar contract to what he had, something in the neighborhood of $4 million. But the bullpen is somewhere that I do expect to see them active. It's not too splashy, but it is something they need to deal with. They did just re-sign Steve Pearce to a one-year, $6.25 million deal. That means first base is set between Pearce and Mitch Moreland with a platoon there. They're in good shape. Ian Kinsler is walking in free agency, but if Dustin Pedroia is healthy, they don't need to bring him back. And the lineup doesn't have any other holes, so there's nothing to worry about there. They're also losing Drew Pomerantz, who, let's be frank, did nothing to help the team this year. So I don't think they're worried about replacing him. They've got plenty of starting pitching options. If there's anybody from the rotation that they're going to want to try and re-sign, it's Nathan Eovaldi. I know Shane is not huge on the Yankees signing him. I'd be very happy if the Red Sox were to get him locked up for a 3 or 4 year deal, something in the neighborhood of $8 to $10 million. I think he's certainly worth that. The ups are really high, even though he has those blow-up games sometimes, and it balloons his ERA. I think the downside is worth the upside there, especially for a team like the Red Sox that's just going to be losing some more starting pitchers in the next couple of years. That said, they are going to want to get that payroll back down for a number of reasons, chief of which is they really want to get Mookie Betts extended. If there's big news this winter, it's going to be an extension for Mookie. That's their top priority. They may also try to extend Xander Bogaerts. Mookie is not going to be cheap. If they can lock him up, it's going to be something around market rate, which means a $30 million or so a year contract, probably tacking on 8 years to the 2 ARB years he has left, which they'll likely have to buy out as well. So not going to be a small thing if it happens. The good news is, Hanley Ramirez's money is coming off the books. So all told, the Red Sox are shaving between $45 and $50 million off of their payroll from 2018. So they've got a shot to get back under that threshold and reset their tax if they really want to. I doubt that they're going to hold themselves to that. The chances are the only thing they're going to want to limit themselves from is staying away from that tertiary threshold again. They probably don't want to bump 2 draft picks down in a row, 2 years in a row. So if there's going to be big news, it's going to be an extension. They're going to certainly give that a shot. Mookie has expressed interest in reaching free agency and testing that market, but you drop a big enough offer on him, and I'm sure he will bite. And if there has ever been a Red Sox free agent that's worth dropping that kind of money on, I think Mookie Betts is probably it. So that's mostly what we're looking at for the winter. Sorry, it's not going to be as exciting as past winters, but Dave Dombrowski's done his work already. He's got a team that's capable of winning again in 2019. They just got to plug a couple of small holes. If he can do that, they're right in the mix for winning the division for a 4th straight year and going back to the playoffs and hopefully making another run. Thanks, as always, for giving me the time. This is the Beautiful Mind signing off.
Okay, so he gave us all his talks here, and I think if the Red Sox go and they end up signing Zach Britton, that scares me a little bit. That would be a big deal. That's like that was like them getting Steve Pearce. That was something that you and I were both very nervous about when they signed him. We were nervous about when when he went to Toronto because he is a Yankee killer. He just destroys the Yankees, and then he goes to our rival, the Red Sox. We were terrified. I mean, because we know that he hits us and he hits us well.
And that worked out.
It did work out. Worked out really well for them and him. He got a nice little 1-year deal. I would be shocked if they did not try and land Mookie Betts for an extension. That would be, if I was the Red Sox. I mean, you obviously have to take him. He's their best player. He just won the MVP. You really need to do something for him, and
you got to lock him up.
Out that dough.
It's your franchise player. Lock him up.
Yeah. And then Xander Bogaerts, I could see them trying to. He's not going to be anywhere near as expensive. He's a decent shortstop. Whatever. As far as Joe Kelly, I would be so happy if they did not get Britton and they kept Joe Kelly. Joe Kelly does not scare me whatsoever. And he can really blow up in some certain spots. So I don't know. I would like that. And obviously Pedroia coming back, you don't know how he's going to come back. I mean, he's obviously been hurt a lot over the last few years. You don't know what kind of player you're really getting again.
It's a lot of rust to shake off.
Yeah, and if there's anybody that can do it, it would be him. He's a gritty guy. So I would not put it past him, but I don't know. If he's that would kind of scare me a little bit, because you're going to need a backup plan. Because he's been hurt so much. You're going to need a backup plan. Damien actually just posted in here. He said, just do it. Do it. Just do it for Mookie. Yeah. All right, so we have all that.
I would agree. I mean, that's look, you're in good shape if your biggest offseason priority is just locking up a guy that you've already got under contract.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when you're a World Series champion. So I would agree with him, that being the highest priority.
Yeah.
I think there's a very, very good chance Britton ends up in Boston. There's a need there. The Yankees are not going to be able to retain him and another guy in the bullpen. The Yankees are probably going to.
I don't understand
if I had to put money on it, I would say the Yankees are probably going to go after Robertson and try and retain him, just because he's got such a long history in New York and he pitches so well in New York. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd take Britton back, but I don't know. Can the Yankees get him, get Robertson?
They've been putting a lot of miles on Robertson's arm, though.
And then they absolutely have. They absolutely have. But you know what? Man, he can get himself in and out of trouble, or he can get them out of trouble when they've gotten themselves into it.
That's the kind of guy that it's just going to fall off a cliff.
He could
fall off a cliff, and it
scares
me that it's going to be next year. Because
as
I like to say, he's not getting any younger.
No, of course not.
And he's going to look for a multiple-year deal.
Yeah, he probably will.
I
sure he will.
Do it. I would rather go the cheap option and try and get Britton for a year. That would just be mine.
I mean, I guess the other question is, though, would you want somebody like Robertson ending up on Boston? Maybe you wouldn't care then.
But. That wouldn't bother me as much. I mean, I don't think he would, because I think he'd be too expensive.
Maybe.
I think Britton's cheaper, and he's a shorter term deal. So, yeah, I would rather go a little above and beyond for getting Britton. I would rather go and try and say, you know what? Here's a 2-year deal. Nobody else is giving you 2 years. Here's a 2-year deal, and we'll up it. From what everybody else is doing, about 8 per or 7 per or whatever they're going to offer you. We'll do 10. Because they can.
You know what's interesting though for the Red Sox, and I don't know if Damien agrees here, but I think that one of the things I agree with him though. Like if you get Evaldi back, I think that's such a big deal for them, because I don't know that Evaldi will do what he did last year for a lot of other teams. Mm-hmm. There is part of me that wants the Yankees to bring him back, but then there's part of me that thinks that would backfire horribly. But I think the Red Sox formula was really, really smart this past year. They didn't, everybody was worried about, you guys were all worried about the blow pen, and I kept telling you, look, they're going to be a bend, but don't break. They're going to make you nervous, but ultimately they're going to be able to hold on to games. And you know what? You lived a little dangerously with it, but you got it. I think the strategy for the Red Sox is just get Evaldi back, make sure that rotation is solid 1 through 5, and then you can move some of those guys into the bullpen during the postseason and just do what they did again. Like, why can't that formula work again?
Yeah,
I think it can.
I'd be very happy with them signing Evaldi too. I don't.
I would not, but I mean, there's a good chance he stays there, though. Yeah, let's be honest.
He had success there, and I don't. That's like the trap. I think when they have these games that go into the postseason, it's the trap. And I just see it as a trap. And I hope they give him. I hope they sign him for 4 years.
I just think the Red Sox had a really good setup last year with using a lot of their starters in the bullpen to kind of supplement for whatever issues they had out there, and it worked for them. kind of like don't see why that couldn't work again. That's why
it's the mileage and the way that you're using them. I don't see him being able to.
It is, but if your 4 and 5 guys are really solid pitchers, you'll trust them a little more in the bullpen. If you've got scrubs at the end of your rotation, you're not going to trust them in any spot.
Yeah, maybe.
So, and I think the Red Sox had good depth in their rotation, and that allowed them to kind of make up for the fact that they were a little short in the pen, and they won.
All right. Well, we have about 10 minutes left or so. Let's dive into the Yankees. We can talk about where you had some topics that you had posted out there, that you had talked to me about anyway.
You remember earlier in the show? Earlier in the show that
60-40.
I told you that 60-40 number was going to rear its ugly head again, and unfortunately, I have a feeling I've got a bad
studies. 60% of the time it works every time.
That doesn't make sense. But what worries me is, if you had asked me about a week or two ago what I thought the Yankees' percentage chance of signing Manny Machado was, I probably would have said about 10 to 15%. Now I'm worried that it's about 60%. In the past week, we've had a lot. Michael Kay kind of sort of broke this a little bit on his show this week. He said the Yankees were in on Manny Machado in a very serious way. Prior to that, there were multiple reports coming out that the Yankees were doing extensive research into Manny Machado. But what concerns me most, and the reason why I'm starting to lean towards I think Machado might end up in pinstripes, is it wasn't about so much what was said about him, but what was not said about him. Brian Cashman was on the Michael Kay show this week, and he avoided Manny Machado like the plague, at least in terms of specifics and wanting to weigh in on him, because Michael Kay was trying to ask him questions. Doesn't it trouble you, the kind of stuff that he said and his actions in the postseason? And Brian Cashman was basically like, I don't want to talk about any details like that about players that we may or may not be interested in. Like, he completely avoided it. Whereas the owner, and I find this ironic, when you consider how transparent Brian Cashman has been about Sonny Gray, and yet he is completely avoiding Manny Machado. Completely avoiding him. Just does not want to. You could tell over the phone, Brian Cashman was uncomfortable talking about Manny Machado. Why would that be? If they didn't have any interest in him, like if they didn't have any interest at all, I mean, unless this is just one of those things where they're trying to get other teams thinking like, well, the Yankees are involved to drive up the price. Forget about all that posturing. That's BS, because Manny Machado is going to get $300 million. He just is. So the sooner everyone accepts that, the easier it'll be. The guy's going to get paid. Yeah. It doesn't matter that he loafs. It doesn't matter that he's dirty. Talent trumps all. He's 26 years old. He's been a beast in the American League East for quite a few years already, and he's only 26. He's in his prime. He's going to get paid like a boss, and we all know it. So there's no posturing going on here. The fact that they are avoiding talking about him, to me, scares me. To me, it means like they are looking very seriously into him, and they don't want to say anything bad about him because they're trending in the direction of signing him. But the one guy who I do at least find refreshing in all of this is Hal Steinbrenner, the Yankees' principal owner. He said, I'm going to read a couple of quotes from him here in terms of, so when they were talking about if they decide that they want to go after Machado, the Yankees need to talk to him. Duh. But here was one of the things that Hal Steinbrenner said in terms of talking to him. It's not just important, it's essential. If it's a $300 million guy or a $10 million guy, clearly those comments are troubling. And he's referencing the comments about him not being a Johnny Hustle player.
Right.
He said, but that's really Brian Cashman's job. If we're interested in any player, to sit down with them face to face and ask him, where did this come from? What was the context around the entire interview? He's talking about the interview with Ken Rosenthal from The Athletic. Was there a point? How do you justify it? Because that ain't going to sell where we play baseball. And I have always kind of been a fan of Hal since he came onto the scene, since he thankfully pushed Hank to the side and got Hank out of the spotlight. Hal is a very thoughtful, very cerebral guy. And I understand that, he wants Cashman to, have this heart-to-heart with him. But here's the thing. Manny Machado is just going to feed you a bunch of BS. He's going to try and work around that comment, but it doesn't matter. That came out of his mouth. What additional context do you need? We saw the excerpt of the interview with him and Rosenthal. We saw what he said. How do you dance around that? There's nothing to take out of context there. That was about as direct as you could possibly get. And then on top of that, you have him stepping on guys' heels as he's running down the base pad on first base, whether it's Aguilar or whether it's Pierce or whoever. He's just a dirty player. Look, I get that he's talented. I get that he's productive. But I think you saw and heard all you needed to see and hear from him in this past season. I think it really spoke volumes about the kind of guy he is. And you're going to pay this guy $300 million? And you're locked into this contract. This isn't football. This is baseball. It's all guaranteed. You're locked in with this guy for 10 years. This is a marriage. It's going to be an ugly marriage too. I would avoid this guy like the plague. But unfortunately, I'm in that percentage pool now where I believe there's a 60-40 chance they sign him. What do you think?
I'm in a boat right now where I don't know. I don't know which way they're going to go. I can't really speculate because they are obvious. They're vetting him, but I don't know what they're getting when they vet. When they're doing all that, when they're trying to get him to see what's all going on in the background and I don't know what they're getting from that. I can't really tell in the media, like with all your set, what you've heard. I can't really see it. And plus, I'm always big into second chances. Now, if he comes with another team and still pulls that hijinks, yeah, I'm gonna be pretty ticked. But if he comes to another team and actually performs and plays well and not dirty, I give him that's his second chance, and I will let him move on. But I don't think they need him. That's the problem.
Well, that's the other thing too.
I just don't think they.
Is there need? I don't think there is.
It's always great to add great talent like that, but they don't need to because as of right now, they had a third baseman this year who's not a good third baseman. But they had. I mean, he's an average to below average third baseman, but he performed as probably one of the elite third basemen third basemen in the game. So I don't see the need there. And obviously, you can move Andujar out of there, and you can, if you're looking for defense, you can put Echeverria over there. You could do that if you wanted to. There's guys that you can sign. There's ways that you can shift it around. You can put Gleyber Torres over at third and sign someone like LeMahieu. There are options out there that I think are better fits for better short and long term success. Because those contracts they do. I mean, they cripple you, and it's going to be unfortunate if they do sign them.
And again, then you're carrying $200-300 million contracts because let's be honest, you're not going to be able to unload Giancarlo Stanton. And then you're faced with the same thing that the Red Sox are faced with vets. At some point, you're going to have to start taking care of your own guys. You got to start taking care of Judge. You got to take care of Severino. You got to take care of Gary Sanchez if Gary Sanchez is in the long term.
And they're going to have money that's going to free up as well. But
yeah, they will. They will.
But you have to sign all these guys, and I know they don't really want to go over the threshold again, but those guys, Gary Sanchez and Andujar and Torres, and then you're going to have pitchers come up that need money, and then you're going to need to sign pitchers to come and fill into the rotation. Like you need that money for other stuff, and this might sound ridiculous to you, and maybe it just sounds ridiculous on the surface, but I believe the Yankees have a better chance of winning the World Series without Manny Machado. I don't say that. I don't think that's ridiculous. I think that's accurate, and I think that's why.
I'm not saying. No. But listen to what I said. I'm not saying the same chance. I'm saying a better chance without him.
Yeah,
I think he's a cancer clubhouse kind of guy.
I think he'd be fine, and I don't think he'd be bad in the clubhouse. I just don't think it's an improvement on the team, which.
Well, what worries me is that there are a lot of Latino players in the Yankee clubhouse, and Manny Machado would probably be very influential with them. And I'm not sure I want him in the ears of guys like, Miguel Andujar or Gleyber Torres
Well, plus you have a guy like Gary Sanchez who's been loafing it a little bit as it is, and then you're going to have
Gary Sanchez on top.
Right. You're going to
Right.
pay this guy hundreds of millions of dollars to come here, and he was known as the loafer.
That's the other thing too. That when you bring in a contract like that, if it's 10 years and $300 million, and then you've already got Giancarlo Stanton on the books, that's when those guys like Judge and Sanchez and Torres and Didi and Andujar are going to look at that and say, well, you brought these outsiders in and paid them all that money. When our time comes, you better show us the money, or you could bet we're walking.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a little nerve-wracking, and I just right now their offense is good. They need to have a couple of just hitters that people that can get on base.
Marwin Gonzalez.
They need some guys like that. I would love for them to get DJ LeMahieu. I don't think they're going to try.
Daniel Murphy.
Yeah, I mean, he's another guy that can hit, but he's on the DL all the time. And he has some off the field issues too.
Right. We've talked about extensively.
We know how that works in New York.
Right.
When you say some stuff, just ask John Rocker how things go.
Yeah.
There's a lot of issues. But those are guys those are the type of guys that you need. Like, you need somebody that can get on base at high clips, not have to worry about just the home run, and then you have more people to drive in. That's what I think. That's how I think. And I think that Manny Machado he's a very good player, very talented. I just don't think it's the right fit at the right time.
Agreed.
And I don't think they would get him. I would hate seeing Marwin Gonzalez on the Yankees. Damon, yeah. That would be a good signing. I mean, a guy that can play anywhere,
versatile,
and
playoff experience, not overly expensive.
No, that's the guys that they would have signed in the late 90s and early 2000s. Yeah, not those huge.
Like, no joke. You said to me, "I will give you one choice of a guy, Manny Machado or Marwin Gonzalez." Oh my God, I'm taking Marwin Gonzalez.
I think he would be
in a heartbeat.
I think he'd be a better fit on the team.
I wouldn't even think twice about that.
Better fit on the team. Absolutely.
He's more versatile. He's not a headache. He's an experienced playoff guy, and he allows you to have more payroll flexibility, which you're going to need down the road. I mean, it sounds weird to say that's a no-brainer, but you know what? If Manny Machado didn't have the issues that he had, if he didn't say the things he said, if he wasn't a dirty player, I would feel very differently about him. But he did those things, and he said those things, and I don't want anything to do with him.
He did,
and my guess is Damian wants Manny Machado on the Yankees. I'm sure he does.
This is what he said. He said Manny Machado will be a Yankee. That's the beautiful mind guarantee.
I have a feeling he's going to be right.
He said, which is precisely squat.
And I bet you he wants him on the Yankees. I'll bet you he does.
Yeah,
I'd be willing to make that bet that he'd rather see him than a guy like a Marwin Gonzalez.
All right, well, that's pretty much it for our show today. We gave you an hour and almost 15 minutes. My name is Shane Moore. You can find me on Twitter at Einhorn Instagram at Jimmy Lee Farnsworth.
Oh, sorry. Oh, my. Oh, sorry. You just melted me. I'm the Brian Man. You can find me on Twitter at _Brian_man, where I actually got Olaf to respond to me this week.
Yeah, Josh Gad.
That was fun.
Oh, wait, here we go. He says, I think the production will outweigh the negatives. That's what Damian said about Manny Machado.
I don't know.
Yeah. All right, and you can find the show on Twitter at Shane and Bryman. You can find it on Facebook at facebook.com/Shane and the Bryman. We can do a lot of posts. Damian puts a lot of baseball content on the site. I'm going to be starting to flood it a little bit more with some basketball stuff. The Bryman throws some football and other stuff out there from time to time. We will keep giving you content on that page. And YouTube got some stuff going on. We're going to be doing this. We put clips on the show. We take little clips of these rants that we have and throw them on there as well to provide more content. But other than that, that's pretty much it for our show. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. However you did this, you can find us on iTunes, iHeartRadio for audio-only podcast, anywhere podcasts are played, or www.sportsandsorts.libsyn, Libsyn.
And if you are a wrestling fan, don't forget to check out Survivor Series tomorrow. Some fun matches. We got denied a little bit of a great one between Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey because Becky got hurt.
Smashed the face.
Yes, which was just one of
How did that happen?
greatest. She was SmackDown invaded Raw,
and
she got in the ring, and Nia Jax, who's a very, very big woman, just cold cocked her with like her forearm right across the face, broke her nose. But it was such a great scene though. Like because then like SmackDown, like basically they hightailed it out of there, and they were like, and Becky Lynch was like going up the stairs, and she's got like the blood pouring down her face, and she just looked like the greatest badass ever. She's just the baddest bitch on the planet, man. She is awesome. I said it on Twitter this past week. She is the best heel. She is the best wrestling heel since Hollywood Hulk Hogan, and that is definitely saying something. I mean, she's just, but the difference is she's actually, like, she gets cheered like crazy. Like, Hogan as a villain actually had trash thrown at him, which was just as great because it means he was really got a lot of heat. Yeah. But Becky became a villain, and immediately all they did was cheer her, and they won't stop. People won't stop cheering her. She's the anti-hero, but she's awesome. Yeah. She is so awesome. But unfortunately, because she broke her face, she can't fight Ronda Rousey, and now Charlotte Flair is stepping in. And then there was a title change on SmackDown. AJ Styles lost to Daniel Bryan, so Daniel Bryan is now facing Brock Lesnar. Because SmackDown, Survivor Series is SmackDown versus Raw. All the matches are SmackDown versus Raw. So, should be fun. Did I swear?
Yeah.
What did I say?
The baddest.
Oh, bitch. No, I didn't. All right. I didn't know.
And then, that's all.
I thought maybe I dropped an F-bomb.
No.
Sometimes I don't know what I'm doing. It just
comes out of the beard.
It just comes right out. I have to try my, so this morning I purchased some Cremo beard balm. So I need to style this thing. This thing's getting out of control. It's nuts.
You should style it for the show on Monday.
Maybe I will.
That'd be great.
Maybe I will. The beard bomb is not cheap. It was just for like a little, like a little container. It's like $10.
Yeah. Bad, you got to look good. It costs a lot to look that good.
I mean, Neil Patrick Harris could tell you that about, because he ran a store like that where, with the, facial hair was exquisite back in the day, apparently, huh?
Yeah.
In A Million Ways to Die in the West.
That was great. Right.
You and I love that movie. That is such a tremendous guilty pleasure for us.
I still think that, several years from now,
it will be appreciated.
It's going to be, it's like, Spaceballs. Spaceballs was absolutely trashed. And then as time went on, Mel Brooks was appreciated. And I think that's the same thing with the Seth MacFarlane movie.
Yes.
With time, it will, because it is
If you have not seen A Million Ways to Die in the West, you are
so
missing.
Over the top goofy, but
you're missing out on and the thing I love about it is the quality of actors in it. Mm-hmm. Charlize Theron, Liam Neeson, Neil Patrick Harris. Mm-hmm. There's A-listers in this movie. It's not like and Seth MacFarlane is great because he's just great.
Great writer. Oh. He's very smart guy.
I love that guy. I can't wait for Orville to start up again.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it too. That's a good show. Not as much as I am LA to Vegas. I can't wait for that movie because that TV show to come back on.
It got canceled.
No, it didn't.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Dude, don't even talk to me about that. I'm so upset. Yeah, you're talking about the Dylan McDermott pilot? Yeah, it got canceled. I'm so mad because that was like my favorite. It was one of my favorite shows. But dude, it's Fox. They screw up everything. Yeah, they canceled.
Amazing.
Yes, they did. They canceled it. I remember looking that up. It did not get renewed. I was so mad. That was such a great show. I loved the concept of it too. It was such an original show. I was hoping it'd be one that would get picked up somewhere else, but I think what hurt that one was the fact that it was just 1 year, one season.
So
and
funny.
it just, and I think it's hard to pick up a show after only 1 year,
No, on that note, I guess we'll see you on Monday.
See you Monday.
We've learned on that Fox is dumb.
Yeah.
It's always dumb. Hate it.
Well, I can't speak to that, Damien. I've never seen Daredevil, but I hear Daredevil is really good. But
it is good.
Orville is just unbelievable. It's just such a great show. Such a great show. So well written. It tackles major societal issues now, but obviously in a futuristic Star Trek kind of way. I mean, it's just so well thought out. It's such a thoughtful show. It's great.
Oh, yeah. My face needed the womp womp sound effect.
Yeah, you were heartbroken after you found that out.
Sad trombone.
I did. I saw you go from like the equivalent of 12 to 6 then. There it is.
Yeah, that's sad.
Sorry.
Yeah, Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again on Monday, and have lots to talk about. Can't wait.
Stay classy, Planet Globe.
Peace out. Peace. How's that beard? Looking good.
Thick.
Yeah, it is.
Like a milkshake.
Does it bring all the boys to the yard?
It sure does. Wow.